the end of the Kamomedai match, Haikyuu's story reached a breaking point. Karasuno abruptly losing at nationals and the story cutting to life after high school with Hinata in Brazil captured the finality that comes with competing in sports, but it also left the reader feeling cheated. The jump to Brazil is so abrupt that we have no idea who won nationals, and we don't get to experience any of Hinata's time left at Karasuno. The intention behind the time jump is clear, and something that I talked about at length in my video on why Kamomedai is my favorite match in sports anime. Despite deep thematic connectivity to the story's key ideas, it was a major risk to cut Karasuno's national run short and not show us more of Hinata and Kageyama's high school journey. Furudate ran the risk of failing to give readers a satisfying end by not tying up the story's loose threads. By cutting to Brazil, it closes the door on seeing Karasuno face off against Inarizaki or Kamomedai again. We don't see how things end up with Bokuto, nor will Karasuno face Date Tech again. Instead, we follow Hinata in Brazil as he builds his body on the beach. For Haikyuu to make good on what the story showed readers throughout, it needed to have a way to pay off all the remaining arcs and threads, and it does so through Hinata's professional debut for the MSBY Black Jackals, a League One Japanese team that just so happens to be facing off against the Schweiden Adlers, led by none other than Kageyama. Just as Haikyuu needed to satisfy the audience, Furudate gives us the long-awaited match against these two rivals, and it is executed with such quality that it solidifies Haikyuu's place in the pantheon of sports anime. Welcome to AniEssays. Here we overanalyze anime and manga, with each video on the channel created under the belief that anime, same as film and literature, is worthy of in-depth criticism. If you like my videos, then consider supporting me on Patreon. More information about Patreon benefits at the end of this video. During the Brazil training arc, the reader has a slew of questions, mainly what has everyone been up to for the past few years? Who went pro? How is their career going? What other paths did our favorite characters follow? Outside of a brief appearance from Oikawa, we don't get many answers to those questions. When Hinata finally returns to Japan, Furudate gets the chance to reintroduce us to all of the major players in the story, Furudate wasting no time showing that Hinata plays for the MSBY Black Jackals, and that they will be facing off against reigning champions, the Schweiden Adlers, to kick off the season. Furudate using this all-star match as the bombastic conclusion to the story. Quickly, let's go over some decently sized hanging threads that we want Furudate to wrap up going into this final match. Has Hinata truly embraced being a decoy, or does he still want to be an ace? Can Kageyama fit into a professional side? What does reliable Bokuto look like at the pro level, and how did the rest of nationals go? Can Hoshiumi still win in the air against anyone? How did Ushijima recover from the loss of Karasuno? Will Atsumu set for Hinata? Does Noya pursue volleyball after high school? And what becomes of Tanaka's relationship with Kyoko? Does Suki still like playing volleyball? That is literally only a fraction of the payoffs we're waiting to see happen, and I am not being hyperbolic when I say this match touches on literally every single one of them. The Jackal vs. Adler match is an exercise in how to reward an audience. In the Kamomedai match, Furudate crushed our dreams, but here he said, "Let me give you something you always wanted." This excitement for our two favorite freaks to face off mirrors the excitement of all the characters who are watching. Furudate never misses a chance to engineer the narrative in a way that makes you feel the same emotions as the characters. Just like the reader, most of the characters haven't seen each other in a very long time, so as they reunite, they are just as hyped as we are. In the build-up to the first serve, Furudate takes us all over the stadium to show us our beloved cast. We start with Hinata on the bus talking with Atsumu and Bokuto, his new teammates. Then we cut to Yamaguchi buying food from Atsumu Miya. As each character is introduced, we get a little hint as to what they've been up to. The re-character introductions don't stop there, as the fated pre-match bathroom showdown comes up again between Kageyama and Hinata. This moment is genuinely chilling. After all these years and everything these two have been through, they get to play one another in an official match, at the professional level no less. The rivalry will be put to the test today, but this isn't the start of our story, but the end. So Furudate brings in the big guns. Hoshiumi, Ushijima, Sakusa, Bokuto, and and Atsumu, all in the room with Hinata and Kageyama, getting ready for the match. In this moment, it almost feels as if all the pain that the Kamomedai match caused is gone, as we are back with our favorite characters, all of them ready to play some volleyball. The start of this match captures a major theme of Haikyuu's story, that volleyball in sport is a hub of connectivity, not in how the players themselves connect to one another, but how it brings people together, and you will see throughout this match many old friends reconnecting in anticipation of watching. As life moves on and different priorities and responsibilities take over, events like this are important to bring everyone back together. Sports do an amazing job at eroding the walls between people, and the excitement for this match shows that perfectly. The players are introduced and we see the full lineups. For the Jackals, Hinata playing alongside Atsumu, Bokuto, and Sakusa. Hinata getting the start today over their more traditional wing spiker, Oliver Barnes. For the Adlers, Kageyama gets to play with Hoshiumi, Ushijima, and the eldest Hiragumi brother. He also gets to set to one of the world's best aces, Nicholas Romero. Kageyama gets the match underway with a nasty serve that even Daiichi would have had trouble getting, except Hinata is there to make the receive. None of the players here are like they were back in high school, and Hinata gets to make his presence known as Atsumu gives him a high set and lets Hinata jump out of the building and score the first point of the game. Literally every single panel in this match is pure copium, from Bokuto doing his dance routine on the way out, to learning that Tanaka and Kyoko end up together, to the first handful of rallies that show just how good everyone has gotten. After all of the heartbreak against Kamomedai, after rebuilding himself from the ground up in Brazil, Hinata has finally made it to the national stage, and he is here to stay. After scoring that first point, we see how Hinata's total outlook on playing has changed, as he's upset at his inability to stay on his feet after receiving Kageyama's monster serve. Ushijima hearing that and thinking back to the ball boy arc when Hinata asked him what goes through his mind while receiving. For Ushijima, and now Hinata, the next attack. Furudate's method of paneling throughout the series, inserting older moments when referenced and cutting to players sneezing when they are mentioned, works wonders during this match as we stop in and check on who watch or are thinking about the game. While the tension of this match doesn't reach the level of Karasuno's knockout games, the amount of hype moments makes up for it. The Nekoma match was the closest we ever got to just enjoying watching players play without obsessing over the victor. This was done through the way the final set was structured, with a kind of anticlimactic ending fitting for those absorbed in the game. In this match, though, we are actually just here for the fun of it. It doesn't matter who wins this game, we care about seeing how good our characters have gotten. And my god, have they improved. The improvement starts with Hinata. Not only can he receive Kageyama's serve, but he plays like a total catch-all for this team. Whenever they need help, Hinata is there, like a ninja, to offer support. Hinata's flexibility on the court giving them an entirely different play style to when Oliver plays for the Jackals. Hinata has become a total player, but he still hasn't lost his speed, as Atsumu finally sets a free quick to him, only Kageyama being able to see it coming. I love the reaction from the coaches after this set. The Adler coach wondering what the heck that was, and the Jackals coach laughing, knowing this is why he gave Hinata the start. After Hinata shows off, others get in on the action, each player showing their updated all-around abilities as we go back and forth with the scoring. Every play coming with a nod to the past. We see Osamu and Atsumu fighting over their differing life paths. Furudate also wastes no time in hinting at relationships we haven't really explored before, like this panel where it's clear Sakusa and Ushijima have more history than just a game in the previous year, but a relationship that will be further explored in this match. I think I could spend upwards of 40 minutes talking through all of the payoffs that happen in what feels like every single panel, but Furudate doesn't just reference the past, but adds on to the ideas explored in previous matches. One of the most interesting ideas he expands upon comes when Nishinoya is brought up. A little into the match, Asahi mentions that Nishinoya is out fishing on the coast of Italy. This is followed by Hinata making an overhead receive, the type Noya always struggled with, Bokuto making a chest receive, Atsumu pulling off a setter dump, and ending with Hinata making an emergency set to Bokuto as we cut back to Noya with the quote, "Being good means being free." For Noya, volleyball was an avenue to find freedom, but not the only one. For him, trying new things and not being shackled by expectations means freedom, and he follows that path to Italy. For Hinata to stay on the court, he needed to find freedom in his playstyle, that coming in an all-around form. We see that same freedom for Bokuto and Atsumu. The best players are not held back by what you expect them to be or by what others have done in the past. The best players are the ones who adapt to any situation, the players that are the freest. Kageyama played that way against Kamomedai. Now Hinata and Noya live a life totally free. Hinata and the Jackals take the first set 25-20, and then we take a look into Kageyama's past. I never thought we would get Kageyama's backstory. Maybe at times throughout the series I wondered what his family life was like, but not talking about those things fit with Kageyama's personality, yet his backstory blew me away. As a child, Kageyama was drawn to volleyball. Raised by his grandfather, Kageyama went to all of his older sister's volleyball practices. When other kids talked about video games, they couldn't understand how Kageyama didn't have any, but for him, volleyball was enough. After a few years go by, Kageyama's sister decided to quit volleyball because she wants to grow her hair out. Their grandpa may be a bit sad, but he says it's okay, that no one knows what you want more than yourself. And Kageyama continues to get better. In 4th grade, Kageyama is already superior to his peers, so much so that he holds back on some serves to try and make the games last longer. His grandpa tells him a key piece of advice. There is no reason to hold back, because no matter how good you get, someone even better will come and find you. As we know, in middle school, Kageyama continues to excel and separates himself from the pack, but before he graduates, his grandfather passes away. Kageyama left alone with his sister. Kageyama failing to get into Shiratorizawa, but still finding another player that can match him in skill. Hinata. The two of them, Kageyama and Hinata, are the greatest of teammates and the greatest of opponents, both pushing one another to evolve and become better versions of themselves. No matter what side of the court they are on, they can't help but find new ways of being great. That was the path these two were always headed for, finding connection through volleyball. But everyone has a different path, like Kageyama's sister, who would go on to be a hairstylist. Kageyama's backstory adds new layers to why he struggled so much to connect with teammates in middle school, and how he always tried to solve things through his own skill on the court. He desperately needed a teammate that could match his strength, and thankfully, Hinata was able to fulfill that for him. At this point in Kageyama's career, he has become the ideal player. To start out the second set, he reads the game perfectly, understanding what makes each player tick and knowing the tendencies of Hinata enough to slow him down. Young coach Yukai talks about how Kageyama has been silently manipulating every aspect of the game, using the sides more than normal because his spikers are so adept at fighting in the air. Doing so also gives him ample options when to set. Kageyama pulls off his famous one-hander to Romero just like he would have done with Hinata in school. Back at Karasuno, Hinata was the main player that pushed Kageyama to evolve his skill, while the rest forced his mind to trust in his teammates. In the pros, everyone pushes Kageyama to become the best version of himself. Kageyama taking his options to the limit, deciding not to set the ball on a difficult overhead pass because he knows everyone expects him to make freak sets. Kageyama takes over the second set. Here he is potential no more, but the fully realized king of the court, who understands that on every play his spikers are waiting for him to make the best sets he can. And with that, the Adlers even the game at one set apiece. Kageyama starts off the third set with force as the Adlers take a quick lead. But Kageyama isn't the only superstar setter on the court. Now it's time for Miya Atsumu to make his impact on the game. Kageyama's backstory was the first of many introspective chapters. Since the first set of this game was so chaotic, cutting all over the place and reintroducing the cast, the rest of the game simplifies things by focusing focusing on specific characters. I won't go into too much detail for these sections, as I've already touched upon a lot of this content in my individual character analysis videos, but this stretch of chapters is vital for the story. Here, Atsumu talks to Osamu about how much he is struggling with his new serve, and then he asks Osamu if his specialty rice came in. During the match, Atsumu thinks back to Kita, and how he didn't agree with Inarizaki's motto of, "We don't need the memories." Now Atsumu seems to finally understand what Kita meant when he disagreed with that motto. No one gets a do-over, so what happened in the past shouldn't influence the next steps we take. Regardless if our past accomplishments were positive or negative, we should be facing the future with a type of fearlessness. But at the same time, we must rely on the things we have done, our routines, to perform at the highest level. You can forget the past, but you can't succeed in the future without a strong foundation. For Atsumu, that takes form in building a body strong enough to make elite serves. For Kita, he finds fulfillment by working on a rice farm and helping deliver great ingredients to his former underclassmen. Without Kita's attention to detail and work ethic, Osamu wouldn't have high-quality ingredients for his food, and without Osamu's great cooking, would Atsumu have been able to build his body strong enough to hit serves like that? Next up is Bokuto, as he fulfills his journey of becoming a regular ace. Bokuto is no longer the mood-swinging player he used to be, but a person who can be relied upon. Bokuto sees the blocks with clarity and hits wherever seems best, making killer cut or line shots from almost any angle. Furudate finally takes us back in time and shows how far Fukurodani made it at Nationals. We learn they took second place, losing to a team we've never heard of in 5 sets. Bokuto fails to score the final point, even if the set he was given wasn't perfect. His teammates thank him for helping them see what it's like on center court, and Bokuto goes on playing for those former teammates as the ace of the world. An ace who spikes all balls with complete confidence. Through Bokuto and Atsumu's play, the Jackals are the first team to hit 20 points in the 3rd set, Hoshiumi bringing things back to the Adlers. Hoshiumi understands that his place on the court is only guaranteed by his play, but even if he fails, no one will die. He just won't be able to make a living doing what he loves. Hoshiumi hasn't made it to the top simply through technique or work ethic, but the way he fights in the air is far superior to any other player on the court, for being short is a disadvantage, not a sign of incompetence. Next, we dive into Sakusa's mind. For the longest period of time in the entire series, we learn how he valued his rivalry with Ushijima and wonders what makes the two of them so good, especially when he shares the court with players like Hinata and Hoshiumi. Sakusa was the story's goalpost for a long time, arguably the best striker in high school that would almost assuredly go on to win nationals. We never even got to see him play a match, and the perspective of that superstar is a humbling one. Sakusa focuses on the small details. Now that he has made it to the pros, we see how a player of his caliber still finds satisfaction through routine. Ushijima concludes the single character-focused chapters. We learn that he has actually struggled to reach the top of the pro level in his first couple of years, as he is currently looking to evolve the way he strikes the ball. Ushijima has always been the sign of perfection, but for him, perfection is continuously throwing out your previous strength and looking for something greater. This chapter ending with Ushijima's acknowledgement and thanks to his father for protecting his gift. We view Ushijima as the gold standard for what a spiker should be, yet he has a gift of his own that makes him unique. Each player getting their own point of view chapter works as the ideal way of filling in the gaps from what we missed due to the time skip, each adding definition to their former teams and philosophies, while even adding depth in places we never thought possible, all of this carrying the tension of the 3rd set. With the Jackals at set point, Furudate brings us back into the flow state of the game as we cut around players' point of view. Here we get one of my favorite panels of Ushijima thinking, "I'm stronger than you," while going up against Bokuto. Bokuto gets the one touch, and Atsumu keeps the ball in play. Bokuto always wanted to break into the top 3 aces in Japan at the high school level. Right now, he certainly meets that mark. Hinata comes in for an emergency set, and instead spikes the ball with his left hand, a move only a couple years in the sand could allow you to do, and the Jackals take advantage, winning the 3rd set. Now we jump into into the final set with an Atsumu service ace. Atsumu taking on the reaction from the fans, embracing the boos if he fails, and cheers if he succeeds. Hinata later making a surprise block against Hoshiumi. Hoshiumi not seeing him because Hinata's so short. Both players finally getting the showdown that was cut short back in high school. The next one-on-one moment comes from Ushijima. Early in the game, Hinata failed to get his spike up. A good thing we remember that just like for Noya, it takes 3 spikes to get used to Ushijima's spin. For Hinata, the second comes close, and when Ushijima believes he'll crush Hinata, we get this panel. Hinata back on the beach, finding a tranquility where his muscles can relax, and he performs a receive he's made more times than you could count. Years of practice, not just learning how to spike, but all elements of volleyball, culminating in Hinata making this receive against the ultimate cannon. Against Kamomedai, Hinata fell to his knees with a fever. His inability to properly prepare his body meant the end of his playing time in that tournament. Just like how Kageyama can fit into any team, Hinata can make any play on the court, as he never leaves his feet, always staying upright, using balance and positioning to ensure he remains in every play. Hinata's fever was still volleyball. Learning how to prepare properly in Brazil, dealing with loneliness, fear, and fatigue, all helped him become a player that stands tall and always looks up. Both sides go back and forth once again, each player making a new spectacular play that pushes the rest. The result is a slow buildup of tension where the benefactor is the viewer who gets to watch a game this good. Kageyama shares a similar feeling with the audience. He wants to keep playing volleyball and almost seems to just be messing around out there. As we move into match point, each player gets a little moment that embodies their school's motto, a final punctuation on the philosophies of each team that creates a feeling of awe and spectacle. All of them have different views on what playing volleyball means, each utilizing their own body's strengths and aptitudes to justify their spot on the court. Here, a group of athletes all finding themselves absorbed and desperate to win this game. With the Jackals at match point, a chance to win the entire game, our 2 crows find themselves across the net, both in the air trying to do their best to get the ball to fall over there instead of over here. Kageyama and Hinata playing with the same intensity they brought to their first middle school match so many years ago. Kageyama blocks Hinata, but through balance and flexibility, Hinata keeps the ball in the air, and he moves for a signature shot. Throughout this game, Hinata has arguably been the best player, with an instinct that none can match. Just like in that middle school match, Hinata almost unconsciously goes for that slide shot, and he brings Kageyama along with him. Volleyball isn't a sport you play by yourself, but the strongest team of 6 will always prove to be the best. Hinata gets the attention of everyone as Atsumu sends the ball to Bokuto. Bokuto realizing his role as the ace of the series, and Hinata putting his stamp on being the world's greatest decoy. Here, the Black Jackals best the Adlers and win the game. At the end of this match, everyone reunites as the tension leaves the stadium. Hoshiumi claims that he and Hinata are a type of rival, but they also will take on the world together. Then it cuts to Japan's national team coach. One of the very best panels may be our first-year monsters hanging out and talking. It seems like Suki, Hinata, and Yamaguchi are making fun of the Adlers losing. What's so heartwarming about this panel is how close these 5 have gotten through volleyball. That brings us to the final chapter, where we get a slew of extra payoffs in the story's conclusion, with Hinata and Kageyama on Japan's national team as they face off against Waikawa in Argentina in an extravagant family affair, and then later cutting to Hinata and Kageyama facing off once again. No matter how much time passes, these 2 will always compete against one another, no matter which side of the court they find themselves on. The MSBY Black Jackals versus the Schweiden Adlers is everything I could have hoped for in a post-time skip match. The way Nationals ended ran the risk of the story's conclusion feeling unsatisfying. After watching each of the series' best players compete at this high of a level, filling in previous story gaps and adding new ideas onto each team's philosophies, I am nothing less than satisfied. You can really see Furudate's mastery of paneling this match, as each cut, every angle, and the timing of the story leads to a perfect flowing match that scratches every itch Haikyuu fans had left for the story. On top of what happens in the game, we get a peek into how volleyball impacts those who no longer step on the court. Furudate's most pure message is that volleyball is a sport worth pursuing, that volleyball is fun. It is no easy thing to create a long-running story that pays off most of the threads set up throughout. This match, and Haikyuu in general, is such a diamond of a series because of how the little details come back around in the end. Everything that happens in this series mattered, and it creates what could be seen as the most complex and gratifying story about sports ever created. If this match didn't stick the landing, I don't think I would look back at the ending of Nationals fondly. The Jackal Adler match captures all of the progress these characters have made and gives the audience one of the greatest conclusions to any manga ever. The Black Jackals vs. Schweiden Adlers being the match that saved Haikyuu from failing, the match that reinforced this as one of Jump's very best, and the match where Hinata arrived as he and Kageyama showed the world just how cool volleyball is. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoy my videos, then consider supporting me through Patreon. My patrons get access to this channel's Discord server, where I host my monthly anime watch-along discussions, as well as discuss all things anime and media-based. Patrons also get their name at the end of every video and access to my Patreon exclusive channel updates. The highest tier on Patreon also gives you the chance to select a short topic for me to make, with every 3 months of subscription and access to my full video essays before YouTube. Thanks again for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.